Welcome to Genuine or Counterfeit, where we do what the New Testament commands us to do. We test all things and hold fast to that which is good. And what is good is what comes closest to the first century church as we see it in the book of Acts. 2,000 years of additions to the meaning of church has made most of Christianity unrecognizable from its humble origins. But with the passing of the original apostles, gifted pastors and teachers are in short supply. So it's less likely that you'll be able to find sound teaching in a home fellowship. As soon as a man of God exercises a spiritual gift of teaching, word spreads and no house can hold the hungry sheep. As a rule, the longer a fellowship or denomination has existed, the further it has drifted from its founding. We're told not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together, so we need to meet together with fellow saints. I hope this series will sharpen our discernment skills so we can connect with like-minded believers all the more as we see the day grow near to the Lord's coming. Before we head out, pray for discernment and divine appointments. We must follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. Today's church hopping takes us to the church at Canyon Creek in Austin, Texas. Here are 10 categories by which to ascertain if Canyon Creek's a good fit for the true believer. Number 1, affiliation. The church at Canyon Creek, it was formerly called Cypress Creek Baptist Church, is a member of the Southern Baptist Convention. I found out from one of the pastors I spoke to before the service, but he told me that they changed the name so they could draw in seekers. He said the name Baptist was a turnoff. It gave the impression of straight-laced fundamentalism. This church just merged with another church called the Austin Stone. On the Sunday I attended, one of their pastors and their worship team filled in as guests. So, does Canyon Creek Church pass the affiliation test? Maybe. I'll give them half a star, since the denomination is Orthodox, but the affiliate is ashamed of the name. Number 2, preaching. Guest pastor Matt Carter, from their sister affiliate, he gave a very biblical, rousing message. It was refreshing to see the title of his sermon was, quote, We, W-E, after another Southern Baptist church I reviewed gave away a book focusing on they.
Remember that I'm not just talking about what it is that we together are doing as a church, but I'm also talking about what it is that you as an individual part of that church are called to. Like, what is it that you, as a specific part of the body of Christ, are supposed to be doing in this thing called the church? What is it? Because the Bible is really clear that whether you're old or whether you're young, whether you've got money or you don't have money, whether you're male, whether you're female, it does not matter that if you are a believer here today, if you're a Christian, that you are a vital and you're a critical part of this thing called the body of Christ.
However, his message was directed at the youth that this church tries to attract. Most of the visible pastors and church leaders seem to be under the age of 40. My impression was that he was dishing out the milk of the word. But at least it was biblical and fit the demographic. So, does the Canyon Creek Church pass the preaching test? Yes. Number 3, discipleship. The church at Canyon Creek has Bible classes before the worship service, and it's divided up by gender and stage of life. For instance, one is for singles and young married couples with preschool kids. Another is older married couples with older children. Then married couples with college kids, or they include the empty nesters. And one just for women and another just for men of all marital statuses. But if you're an older widow who would like a class with both sexes, you're out of luck. None of the categories fit my condition, but I suppose they wouldn't toss me out if I snuck into one of the classes. The only place singles are mentioned is in the gender-specific group or for those in their 20s or 30s. It's commendable that Canyon Creek builds the young couples up in the faith. So, does the church at Canyon Creek pass the discipleship test? Maybe, but due to their neglect of singles, they only get half a star. Number 4, worship. The worship team was here with their pastor to celebrate the new merger of their two churches. The Austin Stone Singers were very talented, but unfortunately, they did not lead anyone into worshiping the Lord. They put on a rock concert and called it worship. They made the same gestures you might see at the Whiskey A Go-Go. The lyrics, at least, were mostly Christ-centered, but the performers were very distracting for those wanting to sing praises to the Most High. Again, they catered to a young crowd. The older saints sat in the back of the place where I parked myself. It looks like another place where money is wasted on an expensive sound system and light show. So, does the Canyon Creek Church pass the worship test? No. Number 5, facility. Well, this is a nice location and large and pretty new building on a very busy street. It accommodates their 700-plus congregation with a huge parking lot and lots of classroom space. You can't help think what a pretty penny it took to build it and maintain it. Since it was about 100 degrees that day I was there, you wouldn't know it when you got inside. Very comfortable, and the seats had lots of leg room and very comfortable padding. They even provided snacks in the foyer after the service, fresh fruit and pastries and coffee. They spared no expense. So, if all the animal comforts matter to you, this may be the place for you. So, does the church at Canyon Creek pass the facility test? Yes. Number 6, friendliness. Well, this is good down-home Texas hospitality. I sat near the back of the building. That seemed to be the right place where people over 50 gathered. Women around my age and older couldn't pass by without saying hello and introducing themselves. One lady was the wife of a guy who taught one of the adult Bible classes, and she made sure to let me know which classroom was best suited for me, and she said great things about her husband's teaching. I do intend to go back and check that out at a later date. They were very welcoming. From the looks of the church's website, they get together for special outings and come together regularly with potlucks. That gives people a chance to get to know one another. So, does the church at Canyon Creek pass the friendliness test? Yes, with flying colors. Number 7, resources. One way to tell if the church you are visiting knows how to rightly handle the truth according to Scripture is to see what authors they feature in their resources or bookstores. If you're unsure about an author, Google them. Canyon Creek had just one bookshelf, starring their favorites. I knew most of these names were postmodern evangelicals. Lee Strobel, he's an occasional guest on TBN's Praise program, and Dr. Gary Smalley, formerly of Focus on the Family, both of whom have participated in the Crystal Cathedral's Robert Schuller's Rethink conference that promoted contemplative Catholic spirituality. Smalley was once associated with Bill Gothard, a very popular author-pastor who was run out of his church after 10 women filed a lawsuit against him for decades of sexual assault. Dr. Smalley's book on marriage that the church sells has been criticized for featuring all the mistakes he made in his own marriage and lacked any real example for Christian couples to follow. And another book was by Andy Stanley, the son of TV preacher Charles Stanley, promoting the give-to-get mentality to success. His leadership style is not biblical in the slightest at his church, North Point Community Church, and its various campuses. Attorney John Haller recently exposed Stanley's aberrational ideas, and the presentation can be found on YouTube. Here's a peek. You can look up the full message.
Andy Stanley did
I want to welcome all of you who are joining us online, those of you who are watching by television, those of you who are in the room at all of our strategic partner churches. We are right in the middle of a series called Christian, and what we've been talking about is the fact that you can be a Christian and believe just about anything you want, do just about anything you want, because the Bible doesn't even tell us what one is.
Now listen, I want you to understand, as painful as these clips are, I want you to hear their own words. I don't want you to think I'm making this up. But and he did so that was the intro to a sermon that he did in this Christian series called Between Gracie and Truthy. Now, the premise of this thing was the example that he used in his, I hate to use the word sermon because that implies that it might have some biblical wisdom and truth in it. So his talk that day was a family in his church, a husband, wife, and daughter. What happened was the husband left the wife, the marriage broke up, and the husband moved in with a man who was a friend of Andy's. And what happened, they started coming to the same church where the wife and daughter went. And the wife got upset about it. So this is the example that Andy uses in the sermon. Now, he's going to explain a little bit about what happened. The wife was upset. She comes to Andy. Here's a little bit about it.
Some months after the divorce was finalized, he shows up here at our North Point campus with his partner. And she's here. And it was either Easter or Christmas. I can't remember. It was a big Sunday. And she is mad. 3-syllable mad, okay? She is upset. She is, she's like you would feel if it was you or your sister or your daughter. It's like, and she got in his face and she said, look, this is my church. You cause this problem. You go to any church you want to in Atlanta, but you can't come to, this is my church. I need a worship-free, I need a trauma-free zone. And so you go somewhere else. And basically, she kicked him and his partner out of our church. And so they left. Well, as you know, we have lots of churches in the city of Atlanta, and as it turned out, they decided to attend a different one of our churches, and it was the one that was closest to them, so they attended Buckhead Church.
So he goes down to Buckhead Church, and they started serving, this gay couple started serving in the church. Now, this should be problematic on a number of levels, but I want you to listen to the explanation he gives as to why they thought maybe it was not a good idea for the gay couple to serve in the church. I guarantee you, if I surveyed all of you, not one of you would get the reason. Correct. So here's the explanation.
Well, a few weeks go by, and I'm checking on her. How's it going? And she said, that's good. We talked about she kicked him out of the church, and how's that going, And she said, well, the good news, I guess, is that they're back in church. I said, oh, great. Where? She said, they're going to Buckhead Church. She said, and then she kind of chuckled. And she said, not only that, they're serving. I said, really? She goes, yeah, they joined a host team. Now, what I knew, and I double-checked with her to make sure I was correct, was the last where we had left off was my friend's partner, and he's a friend now, but back then not so much. My friend's partner was still married. And so I said to her, now, he's still married, right? And she said, yeah, the divorce is taking longer than they expected. It's kind of getting dragged out. So I called my buddy and said, okay, I know things have been awkward, between us, but look, and I'm glad you're in church. That's a good thing. And I'm glad you're at one of our churches. That's a good thing. But your partner, he's still married. So see, this is just good old fashioned adultery. Like you're in a sexual relationship with someone else's husband. I've never said that before. But anyway, so I said, so you can't be on a guest services team, okay? You're just living in, this is clear, okay? You can't do this. And he said, I get this. He said, well, and it's funny now, it wasn't funny then. He said, well, he's married, but he's almost divorced, okay? He's almost divorced. They're at the very end. I'm like, you can't be almost divorced, okay? You're married or you're not. As long as he's married, you can't serve on a guest services team. And so I kind of, kicked him off the team. He said, well, my partner, he's going to be really upset about this because he loved the church and he loved the fact that we were going to be able to connect. I said, well, you know what? I'll talk to you. If you guys want to come in, I'll talk to you about this. So they came in to see me. Now, a few weeks ago, during the Ann Rice message, I introduced some of you to a new word. The new word was disputatious, okay? Disputatious. So when they came to see me...
Did you hear what he said? The Ann Rice sermon? He's doing a sermon about Ann Rice, who writes about she's an American author who writes about vampires and the occult. He had done a sermon on her. And of course, he's like, well, you can't serve because you're committing adultery. But apparently, if you were divorced and living with another man in a sexual relationship with another man, that would be okay. That's why I told you none of you would get the reason. Whoops.
Three of us had a disputatious conversation. It was really, really awkward and bad. And to my friend's partner's defense, it's because they showed up at Buckhead Church and they never saw me down there except on a screen. And so he said, how can you kick me off out of a church? You're not even the pastor there.
He's right. And so then they talked about how they all ended up at the church, and she had a boyfriend who had a daughter, and they would all come and they sat on the front row for Christmas, and wasn't this wonderful? Where did they go wrong at North Point?
You can look up the full message. So, does the church at Canyon Creek pass the resources test? No. Number 8, benevolence. I found out about this church after driving by a storefront place called the Christian Resource Center. I looked it up online out of curiosity, and I found out that it was a center people could go to for help with finances, homelessness, food, and other pressing needs. It is supported by many local evangelical churches in the area, and a place the pastors can refer people to for charity. I'm sure that frees up the time of many pastors during the week. The Resource Center also works with local businesses to find jobs for those who come to them for help. So, does Canyon Creek pass the benevolence test? Yes. Number 9, children's ministry. Believers with children put their needs at the highest priority when church shopping. Canyon Creek has a preschool 4 mornings a week for kids from 3 up to kindergarten. They have summer camps and a media room with movie-style popcorn, a game room, and lots of toys and fun things to do. And while the parents are in the adult Sunday school before the main service, children attend age-appropriate Bible classes. All kids are upstairs and must be signed in and out. Security for them is adequate. So, does the church at Canyon Creek pass the children's ministry test? Yes. Number 10, outreach. Canyon Creek Church has several outreaches and involvement in missions. They have a way for church members to sign up and get involved. Their student ministry builds relationships with the homeless, handing out hygiene kits and coats. Another missions arm is their disaster relief network that kicks into gear in the event of a disaster. They supply volunteers for the local unplanned pregnancy center where women can get maternity clothes and baby items. Most of these outreaches, though, are in conjunction with other local churches, although that could be a good bonding time with fellow believers. The church seems to farm out their counseling obligations, though, to professional and costly psychologists in the area, which is a drawback. So, does the church at Canyon Creek pass the outreach test? I'll give them half a star for that. So, adding up the score, Canyon Creek earns 6.5 stars. This church is possibly a better fit for youth and young couples than it would be for a mature believer. The worship style and inexperienced pastor-teachers might leave an older saint wanting for a more meaningful environment in which to worship in spirit and in truth. Okay, well, be sure to hit the subscribe button as I keep on the quest for solid Bible teaching gatherings of the saints.